magnifying glass. Every instinct, every flaw, and every virtue is incredibly amplified when those doors lock and there's literally nowhere left to run. So the train isn't just transportation anymore. It's this perfect cross-section of society trapped together in what very quickly becomes a speeding coffin. Look at who we've got. We've Seok-woo, this sharp-suited fund manager who is drowning in money but completely bankrupt in love, traveling with his lonely young daughter, Suan. We have a corporate executive who is just dripping with arrogance. And then on the flip side, we have Sung-hwa, a fearless working-class guy with rough hands and a total heart of gold, traveling with his pregnant wife. Throw in a pair of elderly sisters and a shy teenage baseball player, and these passengers suddenly represent completely different classes, generations, and values. How these specific, wildly different people react to each other, that's going to determine exactly who survives. It is honestly mind-blowing to see how quickly a single mistake spirals into uncontrollable chaos. The source really highlights the sheer terrifying speed of societal collapse. A bleeding, terrified girl boards the train at the last possible second. The doors hiss shut. Nobody really notices her at first because, they're all just caught up in their own little everyday lives. But within seconds of her collapsing, she convulses, her veins turn black, and she attacks. One bite turns into two, two becomes 10, and suddenly, in the blink of an eye, human beings are predators. It just goes to show how incredibly fragile our everyday sense of security really is. As the surviving passengers desperately seal themselves behind these glass train doors, they start to figure out the physical rules of the infected. Mostly that they're blind in the darkness and they only chase movement. But the text makes a really powerful point here. The zombies aren't the only monsters. Sure, the physical virus turns people into mindless predators, but the psychological virus of fear, that actually spreads way faster and it makes people so much crueler. It forces us to ask a really tough question. Which threat is actually more destructive? The mindless, primal violence of the infected, or the calculated, cold malice of a terrified human being? We see this cruelty peak almost instantly. Uninfected survivors are literally running for their lives, banging on the glass doors, begging to be let into the safe car. But that selfish businessman we mentioned, he fights tooth and nail to keep the doors locked, screaming that the survivors might be infected. He has absolutely no proof of that. None. He is simply operating out of pure, unadulterated selfishness and paranoia. This right here is humanity's ugliest face. The door stays shut, not because of a biological threat, but because basic compassion dies the absolute second personal survival is on the line. And the crazy thing is, even Seok-woo, our main character, starts off with this exact same cold, practical mindset. He actually tells his daughter, Suan, that in a time like this, she only needs to watch out for herself. Everyone else is completely expendable. But then Suan looks up at him and drops this heartbreakingly innocent line, "Grandma says selfish people don't deserve help." Wow. The source notes that no scream could hit harder than that silence. It acts as a mirror to her dad. It forces Seok-woo to confront his own icy corporate worldview. He finally sees the man he has become through his little girl's eyes, and for the very first time, he totally hates it. Okay, so the train reaches the supposedly safe transit hub of Daejeon Station, and a whole new dynamic unfolds. The passengers have been told the military is waiting for them. This is that moment of institutional hope, right? That deeply ingrained belief we all have that the government or the system is going to step in and save the day. They step off cautiously into this completely silent station, but it was a devastating lie. A soldier stumbles forward in the shadows, blood dripping from his face, and he attacks. The military forces themselves have completely collapsed into madness. We see institutional hope just totally fail, proving to the passengers that from here on out, they are entirely on their own. The safe zone is dead. Having lost all outside help, the survivors are faced with a brutal dichotomy of human nature, as they literally have to fight their way back through the infected train cars. On one side, you've got the selfish businessman. He manipulates, he lies, and he willingly sacrifices other people just to save his own skin. On the other side, there's Sang-hwa. He's using his bare fists and raw physical power not to show off but to risk his life for his pregnant wife, for total strangers, for basic humanity. It's such a brilliant juxtaposition of how people behave under extreme duress. They say extreme pressure creates diamonds, but as we see here, it also creates dust. I really want to slow down here for a second because we have to recognize Sang-hwa's devastating sacrifice. Honestly, this is the emotional turning point of the entire narrative. To buy the other's precious time to escape, Sang-hwa is bitten. But even while he is actively dying, the guy fights. He holds the door back with his bare hands against a literal wave of death. And in his final moment, he looks back at his pregnant wife with absolutely no fear, only love. It's a sacrifice that is absolutely crushing to witness, but it's deeply transformational for every single person who sees it happen. And watching Seok-woo's incredible courage actually maps directly onto Seok-woo's own moral journey. Let's trace it. He starts as this selfish fund manager who practically ignores his own kid. When the crisis first hits, he evolves, but only slightly, into a protective father who is still fully willing to throw other people to the wolves if it saves his daughter. But after Daejan, and specifically after watching Seok-woo lay down his life, a selfish man dies inside Seok-woo. He realizes that mere survival just isn't enough if you completely lose your soul in the process. A true father and a deeply selfless human being is finally born. But unfortunately, just as Seok-woo finally finds his humanity, the train basically becomes an empty steel tomb, and the remaining survivors face the ultimate betrayal. The businessman, acting like a true parasite, manipulates the remaining uninfected passengers to turn on Seok-woo and his little group. He destroys the survivors from the inside out, cementing the film's cruelest truth. Zombies spread infection, sure, but humans spread fear. He definitively proves that the breakdown of trust and the weaponization of paranoia are far, far more lethal to a society than any biological contagion could ever hope to be. Which brings us to the final, incredibly tragic confrontation. The businessman, who is now infected himself, but still entirely driven by his inherent cruelty, bites Seok-woo. And Seok-woo knows it's over. He has mere minutes before the virus takes his mind. But rather than panicking, he makes the ultimate sacrifice. He fights off the monster to secure Soo-an and the pregnant woman. Then, as the infection physically takes hold of his body, these beautiful, pure memories of his daughter flood his mind. Her little baby fingers, her laughter. Facing his own end, he chooses love over fear in his final redemptive moments, and he throws himself from the speeding train just to protect her from the monster he's about to become. His final words to his daughter as he shuts the door to the train car behind her are, "I won't hurt you." Think about the weight of that. Those words are a father's absolute ultimate gift. They complete his entire transformation from a man drowning in money and apathy to someone completely redeemed by love. I mean, he started this journey unable to even buy his daughter a proper birthday gift, and he ends the journey giving her the only thing that truly matters, her life, at the complete cost of his own. It's the ultimate triumph of human goodness over absolute apocalyptic despair. The train finally grinds to a halt, and Soo-an and the pregnant woman have to walk into this pitch-dark tunnel toward the Busan quarantine zone. But there's one last terrifying hurdle. Military snipers have locked on to them. The soldiers can't see if they're infected in the dark, and their fingers are literally tightening on the triggers. One wrong move, and it's all over. But then Soo-an begins to sing. It's the song she practiced for her dad. In these devastating, tense final moments, this child's pure, trembling, broken voice just cuts right through the absolute darkness. The soldiers freeze, and they lower their weapons, because that fragile, beautiful human song proves to them that life still exists. So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really provocative thought. When the world collapses, does fear make you a monster, or does love make you human? This story brilliantly uses a zombie apocalypse not just for cheap scares, but to strip away all the noise of modern life and force us to look at exactly what remains underneath. Seok-woo chose love, the businessman chose fear. So what would you choose when the doors close, the nightmare begins, and it's just you and the people around you? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.